want to share it as well. So, hold on. Let me see. Let me see. Oh, hold on. How can I share? Hold on. Let's have a look. I'm live. Morning, everyone. If you're looking at me, we're just a minute before or so give us a second because I'm going to try and share this. Your channel. All right, let's see if I can do share. Share with copy link. Here we go. Paste. Is it gonna work? Is it gonna work? Is it gonna work? Okay. I'll do it in there. Susanna, do you want me to post it on yours?
Yes, please, darling.
Yeah. Let me do that. Paste. Share. It's only because I've got Susanna's here. Everyone that's watching, sorry I'm being boring at the moment. But I'm just trying to share this before we start,
but you don't
which is
want
1
to
minute.
miss any of this.
No. You can talk, Susanna.
Silence is sometimes good as well. You know, there's lots in there to learn from.
That's very true. Hold on, I've got you. And then, how do I, oh, there we go. And publish. I think I've done it. I do believe, by George, I think she's got it. Right, let's close that down now. Right, I think we're good. Morning. Good morning, everybody. Everyone in YouTube world, Facebook world, the whole world up there, which I can hear an aeroplane. Now, believe me, there's not been any aeroplanes flying for absolutely ages. And the time that we're going live, there's an aeroplane. Freedom of flight. So, yeah, so good morning. So anyone that's watching, it's a pleasure to be with you, 11 o'clock on our Tuesday. And today we're doing therapy talks about freedom. So being in lockdown, as we all are still, the bars, we all know it's like how precious freedom actually is. But it also gives us the chance that we can focus on the things that are really important to us and freeing maybe our inner selves and freeing our mind and freeing our spirituality, maybe freedom emotionally. So many things that, although we're physically confined, technically, that doesn't mean that we have to be trapped emotionally. And normally if we lose something as well, we can gain something else. It's like you're gaining an extra sense of something. You become more aware in other areas. So freedom to me has really given me a focus. Because whilst being in lockdown, I've become free with that's all right, Lee, don't I? I've become free with who I am and all these things that are inside me that I've been bursting as a person to get out into the world. It's given me opportunity. So the lockdown has given me freedom to have the opportunity to do my life purpose, really. And it's given me the opportunity to meet so many like-minded souls as well. Forever grateful. So I've found the freedom in lockdown. I found the freedom for me in lockdown. So today we are talking about freedom and maybe where we're feeling trapped in different places. But who would like to start? Who can start? Freedom, what is it to you? Who wants to start? Should we go to Lee? I was going to say, Susie.
Sure. Just excuse the plumbing noises and the banging and all the rest of it that goes on in the background. If
that's life.
It is life. It is life. And thankfully, we've got a few plumbers that got the freedom to come and fix our floor. So freedom is an interesting one, and I was quite excited when you said freedom, because I just thought, what really does it mean? And I think that the traditional thought that comes to your mind is, from a jail movie or something that you've watched when you're little, Escape from Alcatraz, and the guy, breaks free or whatever. But in actual fact, I think freedom is something that comes from within. There are obviously different types of freedom. There is, that is a type of freedom. And currently with lockdown, there's a sense of taking away our freedom. And in a certain way, freedom has been removed from us. And it's different in every country. I mean, we've had the thing where you're only allowed to exercise between 6 in the morning and 9 in the morning. And at the moment it's winter's coming in, so it's dark and it's cold, it's beginning to get cold and stuff. But as of the 1st of June, we've got the freedom to exercise at any time of day. So, there's different levels of that, there's different levels of this freedom that we could be talking about. But I think deep inside, we need to find some sort of freedom about how we feel. We need to set our intention because, during this lockdown, there have been so many roller coasters. I read something the other day where someone referred to it as the Corona coaster. And it's so true because it's up and down. I'll share the thing with you.
Yeah.
But we need to set our intention for feeling free within who we are. What is your intention? How do you want to feel about it? How are you going to tackle it? How are you going to, I had, as you know, not a very nice experience recently, and it's been quite a difficult process of realizing what would I want to be done unto me, and in order for, I guess, forgiveness was what I was focusing on, but forgiveness gives freedom. If I'm not willing to forgive the situation, then I can't set myself free. And then I'm going to be holding on and keeping those bars. I'm keeping my heart, my soul, my everything behind bars until I'm willing to do something about it. So I think as we kind of wiggle and woggle and turn with our discussion today, then I'll probably add more. But I think what you said is so true. It's those different levels and layers, emotional, physical, spiritual, and within us, those onion peels of just getting a little bit more freedom with each step we take.
And it's all perspective as well, isn't it? Because if you look at your situation that you've been through, it's been an absolute nightmare for you. If you look from a different perspective and look at what it's now given you the freedom to be and freedom to do, and it's actually created a freedom of you're not in an energy space that may not be serving you. So it's perspective and everything in life that we can look at. If you look at it from a different perspective, it will just transform. It looks completely different from different angles. So where you may be trapped in one place, you're completely free from another perspective. So
in another. Absolutely, yeah. And I think that is, hindsight isn't exact science, but while we're going through things, it's well worth choosing to find the way that you want to feel in it. I know that, I didn't know what was going to happen, just so that if anybody is listening, I don't know, in the future, my office, I walked into my office and everything had been taken. Everything, absolutely everything, including confidential client files, etc., etc. I've subsequently, with the help of the police, found out that it was my landlord who did it. So I know that I am going to get my stuff back. But what Danielle is talking about is the fact that I'm out of a place where there was that hectic energy because of that landlord, the owner of that building was, treats people in this way. I don't really want to be in that building. I don't want to be bringing my clients and working with my clients in that building. So it has given that newfound freedom. But, the actual day of it happening, the trauma, the state, the running around to the police, that sort of the tears, the feeling was hectic. But by the Friday, I really needed to take a step back and just calm myself because that adrenaline in one's body is so... but it definitely is going through the process and allowing yourself at certain times to say, okay, how am I going to cope with this? And I find that we do. You got to be human. Sometimes it's like, I feel so much better. And then, you go back into that feeling and you have to come out again. And perspective is cool because it really does. Looking at it now from the perspective I'm looking at it, everyone's saying to me, lay charges, demand rent back, whatever. And do I want to tie myself up into that? Do I want to tie myself up into more issues with that energy? Or do I want the freedom? And personally, my choice is freedom. I don't want to start fighting about a small rent, So I'm choosing to let myself be free from it, because I can't bear the thought of going legal and all that.
Oh, absolutely. And like, why would you choose anything else? Because we can choose whether to have the smooth journey, or, you know, to go against the flow, which is going to cause that friction, and like that'll just manifest in your life in other ways as well. So choose happiness, I say.
Exactly.
Freedom all the way. Thank you, Lee.
Yeah.
Thank you, sweetheart. Oh, my Susie, my Susie.
Let me unmute myself.
We
Yeah, well,
did the
I
sing
love
song.
that, and that's actually one of my not recent but quite recent understandings, that freedom is choice. And you know, in NLP, when we want to create a lasting change, we always work with the values, because it is from the values that we get our motivation. And in the coaching sessions, when we look into the values, freedom is the one that comes out most often. You know, even for people who want to have money. You know, why people want to have more money or be more prosperous? Because it gives them that feeling of freedom, that I can choose. So freedom, in a way, it's choice. And people are valuing freedom most, I think, mostly out of any other values, I think. I mean, from my personal experience, during this revolution against the communist regime, we were ready to die for the freedom. Okay, so even if freedom gained would not have served me personally, I was ready to die for it. And actually, the slogans back then at the time, and I have shivers only when I think of it, and they're not necessarily bad, was that I will die and I'll be free. So we were so ready to die for that change, for that freedom, that it was feeling like a feeling of, you know, a release of some sort, but not in a sense that I want to die, but I'd rather be dead than endure lack of freedom. So that's how important it is. You know, I think freedom is one of the most valued value, the most important value for us all. And
That's powerful, Suzanne.
yes,
That's very powerful, because actually, when you look at it like that, that's what war's about, isn't it? That is what about everyone that's fought for everything that we've got in our equality, and you know, it is about freedom. And fundamentally, that is a huge subject. That's absolutely huge.
It is.
Oh, Susie, I never knew that about you either. So.
And you know, I personally, because that's on a societal level, and as a human being, is one of the fundamental values of the human being is freedom. And we will probably never endure anything else than that. Just like love. Love is the only emotion that we can feel, and the only state that we can actually accept as a human being is freedom. Mm. And on a personal level, I've worked a great deal on myself, because I was feeling trapped. And this is also something that comes often in a coaching session, when people complain for whatever they're struggling with as being trapped by that particular situation because they don't find a way out. So freedom has its this importance that I found actually throughout all the disciplines, you know, and freedom is fundamental. And for instance, in yoga, the purpose of yoga itself, the yoga practice, is liberation, right? Or moksha or mukti that we find in Hinduism. Yeah, moksha.
Is that what it is?
Yes, moksha is liberation. Yeah.
Because I just did my motivational minute today. It was moksha on the shore. And also I did another one called moksha, and I didn't know what that meant. So thank you. That's very interesting. Liberation. Okay.
Liberation. It's also called mukti, and we find it in Hinduism and in Buddhism. And it's this idea that one can free himself or herself from the illusion of samsara, or the cycle of birth and death. So basically, the purpose in yoga is the goal is to free yourself from the cycle of birth and death, and to be free of this physical incarnation.
Yeah.
Right. And I looked at it as well in Christian Orthodox view, for instance, because I'm a Christian Orthodox. Freedom is seen as that freedom from the influence of what we call sins. Right. But this, I think it's, oh, you have a pretty thing there.
I know. I was just going to say.
Oh, it's so cute. So basically in Christianism, what we look for is the freedom from sins and living life as it willed by God, right? So it's the disappearance of the false image of what I created of myself, and live up to the image that God created for me. So it's freedom from death as well, and the access to that eternal life. So it all comes down to the same thing in the end when you think of it. You know, it's put differently, but it's kind of the same thing. And you see, going into a more psychological aspect, I studied and practice now EFT, which is the emotional freedom technique. And the purpose is to get to feel free from the influence of certain emotional patterns, right? And to be able to have this emotional fluidity. And with NLP, and NLP played a major role for me in clarifying those notions and beliefs, because actually made all the teachings that I was exposed to, including, you know, my own Christian faith, to become more alive, more vivid. Because I had all these tools to remove all the other beliefs that were making me feel imprisoned. All these beliefs that were false and were not serving me, and realize that I'm actually free to choose what I want to believe in. That's freedom, I think. And because, you know, belief is what makes the reality, and it's not the other way around. So freedom is this ability to make choices about how you feel. And there is one thing that had a particular impact on me in NLP. Well, everything has, but there's one sentence that when I heard it the first time, it just dropped inside and changed everything inside, which is, are you ready for it? Are you ready for the truth?
Always.
Yeah, okay. Is that everything is a process. Everything that happens inside me is a process. Every single state that I have, even the state of freedom or love or whatever, is not something that just happens. It's a process. That means there is a first thing that I do to get there. That means my neurology is doing something to create that state. So there's the first thing that I do, the second thing that I do, the third thing that I do. And there's always either an image in my mind that is associated with a state of freedom or imprisonment, or there's a voice in my head that tells me something, that talks from here or from here or from here, that yells or whispers or tells me mean things or good things, or there is a specific sensation or movement of energy in my body that the neurology is creating when I feel in a certain way. And if I am to put all this together, like from the Buddhism and yoga and Christianism and NLP and everything else, if I put everything together, freedom is knowledge and freedom is choice, just like Lee said. That's just that I had to talk a bit more to explain all that. Lee, you were better.
That was
because no matter what is around you, no matter what happens around you, what is true now is the state that you're feeling, and you can choose that state. And that to me is freedom. Freedom is that feeling and knowing that no matter what happens, you're okay.
Yeah.
And that's no greater freedom than that. Emotional freedom. Yes.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned it. If I can just quickly say on choice there, we have mentioned it before, but that book, The Choice by Edith Eger, you know, she even talks about a point where she had the choice to eat human flesh or a blade of grass. But she says, I had choice. In that moment, I had the choice.
Wow.
And I mean, I think that for me is the one thing that sort of, when you see the other places and the things that the suffering that she went through, but her ability to choose throughout of it was, you know, and she did make it through. Obviously, she wrote the book, but it's a
What did she eat? The grass or the?
She chose the grass, but she said people around her were eating the other dead bodies. You know, she was thrown into a pile of bodies. It's horrific. I mean, it's amazing. It's about Auschwitz and.
Oh, was it about Auschwitz? Okay, I've never heard of that book. So, Auschwitz.
I'll place it on. It's absolutely outstanding. And I think as a bedside book, it's something. There's so many little things that she says. I mean, right in the very beginning, she says a comment about, I am here, this is now, or this is now, I am here. So you can't be worrying about what was or what will be. And I suppose it brings us back to the whole now state and stuff is, I am here, this is now.
Yeah.
You know? And it's a simple, very quick, easy way to bring ourselves back into that now. But her whole book just talks about the incredible choices that this woman had, and as you say, the choices were for ultimate freedom.
Yeah. Oh wow! In Auschwitz, you can't get much more of an iconic happening than that to signify all this. Oh gosh, that was an incredible. Thank you, love that. That was brilliant. So, oh Marie, my gorgeous girl, freedom.
Good morning, everyone. Susanna, I think you've actually almost word forward, I gave one of the two definition I would give for freedom, and yeah, the option of choice. I think that is definitely, but I'll come back to that. When I realized we were talking about freedom today, I thought to myself, when do I feel free? Well, what is it for me, freedom? Just to see, when do I feel free? And one of the very first things, you know, that came in terms of feeling, I thought, when I'm skiing and I'm on a slope, and there's no direction, I can go everywhere, and I've got this beautiful mountain, and you look up, and there, wherever you look, 360, there's as far as your eyes can see, and so on. Oh. And this air on your face, and the fact that it's just, you just feel free like a bird. And I said, okay, that's one of my feeling. Now, what makes me feel like this? And I said, that's one of my, I would say, definition of freedom is the feeling of no limit. That's I can do anything. There's no control, there's no limit, everything is possible. So then it started to think differently. Okay, but everything's possible, but what is it? It is just, it's physical, but everything's possible in so many ways. And thinking about that, I started to feel possible, the mere fact that I can make a choice. I'm not limited. That was my the two key definition I would have. Now, where do I find myself where I'm not limited and I can have the choice? So that can be physical, that can be within my body, that can be within the area that I am, or whether whatsoever that could be, and that can be in my mind. But going back to the confinement, and straight after having this feeling or this vision of me skiing, which is one of my big passions, I said, okay, but now I was confined and I didn't feel stuck. Now, why didn't I feel stuck? Because I was confined like everybody else into this world. So then, but coming back to the fact that the limit, yes, sometimes, but the limit is not physical, it's only mental. And it brings me back again to the options. What are my mental limits? Because, you know, that was one way to go there. That would be my negative belief. Anything that stops me or constrains me in one way because it's my own will or somebody else, or because it's a submissive way to limit myself, that take my freedom away, right? So if I control that, then I control my mind, I control my freedom. And the mere fact that I can make that choice, and I can make that choice in a most, how would you say in English? A weird way? Well, I mean, I'm not so much depending on whatever file I've got in my subconscious or my education or my country or anything that I have. And we work a lot of that with NLP. If I go back to my true essence, if I start to try to delete what kind of condition my choice, then I increase my freedom. By trying to be, my freedom is trying to tap into this true essence of me. So that the choice I do are every day a little bit better, my choice versus to somebody else or an environment kind of directed or influenced choice. But if we look at it, at the end of the day, it's all about feeling as well. So there's the inside feeling, but that's not the one I think we immediately go to when we think about freedom. It's like running on the beach. It's like being able to do whatever I want, when I want. How many times people say that to you? What is freedom? I want to do what I want, whenever, however. Now, if we know how we make choices, how often is it really just our own choices? So I find that a fascinating topic because it's for me, it's option to choice and with no limit. But how do we get to the no limit and integrate the no limit or the lesser limit with the option of choice?
That's very interesting what you've said as well, because that opens up the whole world of possibility of meditation and finding that feeling wherever you are. You know, people that are imprisoned in camps or imprisoned in prison or trapped maybe in even down to relationships, trapped in a relationship that you can't escape from, or that you're not ready to, because you can do anything, everything's possible, but that you're not ready to escape from, or just being in that whole thing, that whole meditation. If you just concentrate on your breathing and you close your eyes and you have the ability to create any feeling that you choose in your body by just you're believing it, seeing it, visualizing it, and living it, breathing it in, and breathing in, creating that feeling, because you don't have to be sitting on a sun-beached island in the middle of the Caribbean to feel like that heat. You can be in your bedroom and just shutting doors and just feeling it. And you're there, you know, you're feeling the heat on your legs, and, you know, the sounds of the waves just splashing up against the shore, and the cool breeze just going on, and the laughing kids in the background, and, you know, the pina colada next to you. And you're creating that in your brain, and your brain doesn't know whether you're there or whether you're not there. So we're creating that feeling, and that is so powerful. So therefore, we are all fundamentally free wherever we are, whatever situation we're in. We have freedom. We have everything that we could possibly need, and we have all the tools we need by being free to use our imagination, because our imagination shapes our world. So, oh my, that is just, I'm there.
Yeah. I would add, you know, look at children. I think how amazing are they at being free. They simple everyday life. They're in the classroom, and should they decide at that 1 minute they don't want to be in the classroom, their mind frees away to somewhere else. They go into wherever their mind takes them, and they've got this ability to be an environment that doesn't suit them at the minute, and they extract themselves, so they've got the ability to be free. They free themselves from where they are, and we can all do that. The amount of time that we sometimes, and that would be referring to unfriendly environment that could be such as prison. It can be, Susanna, like when you were also living in your country at the time, and physically you would have also been restricted in things you wanted to do as well. That's absolutely beautiful what you said. But
well, yeah, well, you know, because I was reflecting on that as well, and probably, like you said, you know, the reason for which I feel okay, not okay, but I feel like I don't feel confined by the confinement is because I have this. I was trained into confinement by communists for many years. So I remember what was helping us back then, because you're totally aware of what's going on. Whereas now we're not completely aware of what's going on. So that's, I would say, the difference. Back then it was up front. It was communist, you know, there was the party, and you're not supposed to do this and this and that, or else, you know, it could get really, really bad consequences. But what was helping us back then was humor. Being able to laugh and watch that 1 hour TV show where whatever, our leader was giving this speech, you know, and you would just laugh at it and make jokes, and the next day everybody was joking about it. So there was these two things. It was the humor, being able to laugh at these most atrocious things, and then the ability to visualize yourself. So I remember going to sleep, because I was a teenager, going to sleep and imagining my life somewhere else. And as a matter of fact, I actually left the country, as you can see. So I was always focusing on what I will do after. So that was giving me that mental freedom and ability to cope with what is there now. So, but there is another aspect that I've noticed as well. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong in the way I'm telling the story, but maybe Lee, you know more. It was a story about Nelson Mandela, who spent he spent many, many years in prison. I don't even remember, a lifetime. And in prison, what he did, he studied intensely Bhagavad Gita, which is a Hindu text. And in one of the meetings with the Dalai Lama, I hope that's the truth, I have to check that, he actually was able to quote, he knew it so well, he learned it by heart, that he was able to exchange with Dalai Lama in Sanskrit and quoting a verse from the Bhagavad Gita. So freedom, because you mentioned, Marie, you mentioned that the ability to do everything you want whenever you want. You see, well, you give people this option and they will not be happy. that ability that we think is that image that we have, that I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, is not necessarily the answer or the real freedom. And I remember one of my spiritual masters, a yoga master, was saying something like this, and also something that dropped in there and stayed, is that freedom does not exist without a discipline. You see, because I think freedom can be wrongly understood, wrongly used, and we kind of do a lot of that now as a society. I find the freedom that the past generations fought for today kind of became a sort of chaotic, and there are universal laws to follow, and only by following these laws one can really be free. Because in yoga, for instance, we search for transcendence. That means that freedom from matter, right? Going beyond matter. But in order to go beyond matter, you need to study the laws of matter. You can't transcend something without knowing it. So if you get a degree of freedom, for instance, and if you're not aware on how matter will respond to what you're doing, right? I feel free to throw garbage in the ocean, and 7 billion people feel free to throw garbage in the ocean just because they have this freedom now. The planet will not respond the right way. So, and then we feel trapped and we have to enjoy the consequences, right?
That's right.
So this is a very important point as well. The discipline, and discipline is not something bad. Like I find when I talk to people and I insist on discipline, people kind of, but I don't want, I want to be free. I want to wake up when I want. I want to, go to sleep when I want. I want to eat what I want. And this is not necessarily freedom. Freedom is to respect life. And when you respect life fully with all its laws, then you're free to be what you meant and who you meant to be as a human being on this planet. That's how I see it anyway.
Beautiful.
So discipline is more like, because in NLP, they're just tools. And that's, in a way, a discipline. Like I feel bad and low now, and I feel angry, and I feel like I'm trapped. Well, the freedom that I have is to use a tool that make me feel free. I don't know if you follow me.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So this using the tool is a discipline. I know that when I feel that way, I can use that tool.
Yeah.
Discipline is to wake up at a certain time that is good for my body, not when I think it's good.
And to
So
do
freedom
things
without discipline, freedom without respecting the law, the universal law, the law of nature. Nature is who we are. I am nature. I'm made of flesh and bones. I have neurons.
Yeah.
And I'm composed of the 5 elements. And if I'm not aware of that, then I don't know if I can really be free. Free is knowledge as well, and respecting this beautiful thing that is my body, not beautiful nature,
No, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
That's another aspect of freedom, I think.
Well,
that you have to have that.
Yeah,
Sorry?
the thing is, we are part of the universe. We're made of the same things. We're made of the same things as the sea and the sand and the air that we breathe and the trees and the grass and everything. So by damaging that property, we're damaging ourselves anyway. So are we truly free? By respecting and loving everything that we have around us and all the beauty that we've been given as a gift by the universe, by respecting that, we're treating ourselves kindly, because if you can't start with yourself, then where can you start? It's got to start with number one, and you've got to start with the love, the respect, and the care of yourself. But that also means that you are part of this big universe, which is all to do with how you're respecting yourself. So yeah, the beauty is from within and externalized. Yeah, I love that. Oh, Susie, that was brilliant.
It's so interesting though, as you were talking, as Susanna, as you mentioned Nelson Mandela, I was just quickly looking up a quote that he I mean, some of his quotes are amazing. I mean, that man was just, there's just no words. But when a man is denied the right to live the life he believes in, he has no choice but to become an outlaw. And it's fascinating that when you mentioned about the communism in your country and all that kind of stuff. And, we have the background of apartheid, which was curfew and not allowing people to do, different people at different rights. There was all this stuff going on. And that seemed to, and it's so interesting that that's something that that our ANC government has kind of now led us into is you have to be at home by 8 o'clock tonight. If they at night, if they catch you after 8, then there's consequences. You can only exercise between this time and that time. You know, you have to wear a mask. You cannot leave your home without a mask on in South Africa. And you know, you're not allowed to buy alcohol, not allowed to buy cigarettes, not allowed to do this, not allowed to do that. And people are becoming outlaws, the average, everyday, good human. And that's what happened to Nelson Mandela in his youth. You know, he was fighting for freedom. He was fighting for them to go out any time of day or night because they're a human being. And it's so fascinating how we come back to it might not be your value. It might not be, you know, someone who's an addicted cigarette smoker, they might have all kinds of anxiety issues and all the rest of it. Right now, maybe a cigarette's going to help them. What do I know? I don't smoke, but I do understand that it's a hell of an addiction, and I deal with smokers. I mean, one of my most successful things with hypnosis is stopping smoking. But you're only going to stop if you really want to. You're not going to stop when someone else is trying to force you to do something. So it's quite interesting that people are choosing the freedom to go and find. I mean, people are making their own alcohol. They're buying yeast and pineapples and sugar and stuff to make some kind of alcohol. People are buying cigarettes on the black market. I mean, it's just good everyday people are becoming criminals because of this. And it's so fascinating to read, you know, Mandela's stuff.
That's so scary, because you're right. I mean, it means that every single one of us are technically have the potential of just becoming criminals. But then where's that line? Where is the line between being told and dictated to that you cannot live your life a certain way and bowing down to it and listening to every other little thing, or doing something because you're choosing to do it because you feel it's
It's a interesting thing. And I think it's exactly what you're saying there is there's this balance between, you know, the ocean and the plastic. You know, surely as adults, as human beings, you know not to, you know, so you want to be able to just say to people, come on, you know, let's just be free, but everybody's so different. Everybody's thoughts and feelings on the matter. You know, we have the option of sending the kids to school or not. Okay, things are for us after the 1st of June, we can go out after 8. We can, you know what I mean? Things are slacking off. So it's not, thankfully, going back to what it was. But the question is, like, how do you accept others for exactly what they are and what they think? You know, allow the people who want to send their children back to school, allow them, and those that don't. And thankfully, at our school, we do have that choice. But but not everybody feels the same. Not everybody thinks the same. Not everybody else's choices are the same. And I think they're fundamentals, like treating the nature correctly. But I think there are too many people in this world that don't treat nature, you know, correctly. So. Or in loving, kind ways, you know, whatever that might be. So it's huge. I mean, that's like a whole big another.
Yeah, it is. It really is, and it's like, and also when you come to freedom as well, it's freedom of choice. But it's also like if you're thinking of the religion side of things as well, we've all got different religions and different beliefs, and that's what makes this world so special, that we are so different, and that we do all fundamentally have different views on and outlooks, but that apart from if you're an atheist where you just don't believe in anything, many religions are based on that, you know, the love and you know, and that is kind of like an overruling thing in every religion. So who are we to choose whether anything's bad or good or right or wrong, or, you know, this is personal choice. This is the freedom of who we are. It's freedom.
Also, they say, I mean, it's an NLP thing, is that everything we do starts with a good intention. So whether you believe it or not, whether you kind of, you know, if I were to do parts integration with somebody who smokes, you know, we'll sit there and say, on this hand, we'll put the smoky, the one that wants to smoke. On the other hand, I'll put my hands, are we going to put the one who doesn't want to smoke? And then we'll say, you know, and they say, no, well, smoking's not good intention. It's bad for me. But it's actually, if we go to, why do you want to smoke? Well, because I want to be a better, I need to calm down. Why do you want to calm down? I want to be a better parent. Why do you want to be a better parent? Because I want my child to have blah, blah, blah. And that will eventually chunk up to a beautiful intention. The other side, why do you want to not smoke? Well, I want to be more healthy. Why do you want to be healthy? I want to live longer. Why do you want to live longer? Because I want to be a better parent. I want to, and ultimately they both chunk up to exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And everybody, regardless of religion that I've worked with, it always comes down to something, a more higher power, connecting to God, connecting to source, connecting to having a connection, having a something bigger, something that's greater with it, you know. And that comes to what we're talking about. It's that freedom comes from the disciplines, from the choices. Because if, like what Susanna says, you just think, oh, I'll wake up when I want to because I'm free, you don't feel free. You feel guilty. You feel you don't know what to do. There's no structure. There's, you know, and different people need different routine and different amounts of structure. But if we don't have it, we actually are imprisoning ourselves in lack of freedom by thinking we're free.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Wow, that was deep.
That was
Beautiful.
That really was. It was brilliant. God, I'm surrounded by just genius today. Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
So,
but
and
you
also
mentioned that we, you know, different religions and even atheists, but what do we all have in common? You know, it's the neurology. We all function the same way. And this is why NLP is so good for that.
Yeah.
Because you can chunk it down to what really matters. And fundamentally, we're all humans and we have all these values and principles built in.
Mm.
We're built that way. This is who we are. We are freedom. We are faith. We are love. We are kindness. This is fundamentally our nature, going down and moving one step down or higher or whatever. In spirituality, this is God's image, like how we were created. You know, if you want to come out of the dogma and just look at the image and the picture or the message behind it. This is how we are created, in his image. No?
Yeah.
That means we have all this inside. They just have to find a way to go and reach that. And that's why, you know, working with values, I love it a lot in NLP, because you actually get to access what truly, truly matters to you fundamentally as a human being. Because only when you're connected to those aspects of who you are and what's really important, then you can do the right thing for the planet. If you're truly connected with that motivation that Lee was mentioning earlier, you will not go ahead and destroy the planet. You will not just go ahead and cut all the forests in Amazonia. You will not do these things if you're really connected. But if you're just connected with the superficial values, the superficial motivations, like I want to make more money, I want to have more power, I want to conquer that. And of course, you're going to do only things that are damaging to ourselves, most of all. I mean, firstly, to ourselves.
Yeah. You can have all the money in the world and not have any freedom. No happiness.
Many people prefer, like I meet with people and I do coaching with people that prefer freedom over money.
Oh,
like
yeah.
they give up on certain lifestyles just because there's certain values, like freedom, like free to be myself, freedom to do what I love, freedom not to be able to, or freedom not to comply to a company that I don't believe in.
Although you can have both. You can have both.
You can limit yourself. This is mainly the reason for which they come for coaching, because they kind of get stuck into the limitation of the material, because they put the limitation there.
I understand.
To bounce on what all of you are saying, and Danielle, you mentioned what makes somebody be an outlaw for freedom, and also what Susanna and Lee are saying. You know, I think it's really, why would I become an outlaw? It's because it's either too hard and doesn't fit with my value, or I'm expecting more. But both of that, either it's because I'm getting so much discomfort, for example, for not having my cigarettes, for whatever intention I'm pursuing with those cigarettes, right? Or not having the alcohol, or not having the freedom physically or mentally, whatever the case may be. For example, when you've got some dreams, it's so uncomfortable that you're going to get yourself outlaw to really be free to do what you want. Or it is because it does not satisfy a dream that you have and you really want to follow that dream. But both of those are down to exactly what Susanna and you were saying, Lee. It's all down to the core value that what we have. Whether it's the pain, because it does not respond to the value we have and it generates pain, or we're not fulfilling that dream, which is also aligned with the value that we have. So isn't it freedom just to be aligned with our value, actually, and being able to follow those values. I'm asking you.
But also, Maria, I think it's got to do with the, you know, what you're saying, Suzanne, with your values is, are your basic needs met? Before you start talking about freedom and, you know, before money and freedom, if those basic needs are met, you know, and you've got food and you've got shelter, you know what, the more you have, the more stuff I'm actually trying to declutter at the moment, because I've got stuff from my mom, my father, my brother. It's just too much stuff, and the stuff clutters my whole life, clutters my mind, clutters. So, but my basic needs are met. I have a home, I have this, I can get the basics food-wise. I can't do a lot of things I'd love to do, but it's okay. There are so many people now, because of this lack of jobs, because of the virus and stuff like that. All of a sudden on the streets, wherever I go, if I'm going to the shop, there are people everywhere, every corner, no job, food, please. I mean, even this morning, today and yesterday, it rained. And you know, they stay there with there are so many desperate people.
Sure.
And they become outlaws. I mean, there are people, you know, snaring animals in the Kruger Park because they are so starving that they will take the risk of being killed by a wild animal in a park to get food. So, you know, there's a whole nother level of, you become an outlaw out of absolute desperation at times. And that's a fearful place to be.
Yeah, that is just a different level, isn't it? And
I just thought that while Marie was talking, because I suddenly thought,
no, I mean, like, that's totally it. And the thing is, we've all got the capability, because everyone has to survive, but there is a choice of how we survive, like, and but when it fundamentally comes down to live or die, if you don't eat, or if you eat, then you're gonna do what you can to save your family. I mean,
That's no longer freedom, it's survival.
that's survival. Yeah,
It's just survival skill.
That's survival. Gosh, that's
I think
mad.
the time that it is pure survival. That's at that point, I think you're just thinking of survival, aren't you? I mean, it's all basic, because there's, you know, obviously there's the Maslow hierarchy of needs, and I think, you know, if you've got that lot sort of sorted, but then there's the Tony Robbins 5, you know, the 5 human needs, which are the sort of the certainty and uncertainty, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And
interesting.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I think it's incredible, and the things. Wow, I'm kind of on another planet now, and it scares me a little bit because we are not sure of what's coming. We don't know what's around the corner. Technically, what we're going to be told, whether the virus will subside and it'll all be okay. We don't know anything, but all we do know is what's right here, right now. And we do know that we can create our own freedoms and our own worlds by our thoughts and our language and choices that we make in the present, rather than based on fear or uncertainty and doubt. So yeah, that's really made me like think, though, because obviously when you're saying that, and I mean, how desperate people have to be like that, and what did it take I mean, were these people are they just newly homeless? Is that what it is? Or were they always homeless and not eating? Or
no, I think it's just people who were working, because most of the businesses and stuff have been, you know, a lot of businesses have been closed down.
That's it.
I'm going to put myself,
yeah, no, that sounds, because that's the other point. We're in a world where a lot of people are losing their jobs.
Well, this is it.
This
and
is
these
like
jobs, I mean, people, obviously South Africa, there's a load of people that have domestic workers, and we haven't been able to have them, you know.
Is there a welfare system there? Is there a welfare system?
Well, it's not any, well, there's a lot of aid. That's the other side of the coin, is that there's so much aid. There are so many people that are going out there trying to help. Some of it successful, some of it not, but it's a whole big sort of political thing that's not worth getting into. But just what I've noticed is the amount of people, and a lot of them are also people from other parts, you know, like different countries in Africa that have come down to South Africa to try and make money, but because of xenophobia, they haven't been able to work, or of course they haven't got the permits, so they've been doing gardening jobs or things like that. So
Wow.
these are the guys that need money so badly, and they're just saying job, money, food. There are, I mean, personally, I prefer to give to the homeless shelters, and which is what I do. But I think, I don't know.
I mean, to be honest, like if you can look at stuff like that, and just, it's almost like money is an exchange of energy. So like a barter system that they used to use back in the day, you know, rather than actual physical cash or physical money, something that, can you do this for me? I can do this for you. And like, to get through, can I eat this food? And in return, I'll do this, you know. So they're I mean, money is made out of the government, and you know, and it does, right, and it's trusted because it's made by, you know, the government, and whoever makes and owns the money that we use as you know, as living with. But that energy exchange, that really all it is I will do this for you. Can you do this for me? Can I? I mean, and this whole world, we are free to be able to do that too. We're freedom. It is freedom to make the choices of, you can do that for me, and in return, I'll do this for you. Like, we don't have to rely on a money system. Like, if it gets to the point where there's no rules. I'm on a different level at the moment. I'm sitting there thinking about.
Yeah, but that's exactly where the freedom comes. I have the freedom now to, if I can, to do something to help, if I can, who I can help in my own neighborhood. And I also have the freedom to be in a resourceful state, rather than be in a state where either I don't care, or in a state where I sink down with them. Oh my God, this is bad, because this is not helping. So believing that everybody has the resources that they need in order to do whatever they can is actually enabling them to do that. So just by choosing a different state of mind and choosing to feel that freedom for yourself, you can actually be an inspiration for others. Even if I can't, for instance, right now help people in South Africa, what I can do when I hear about this, rather than sinking down into that feeling of fear and despair and, oh my God, there's no solution, I can immediately choose, no, well, I know that there are possible ways to do it, and probably I cannot help these people, but now I can choose to feel in that state of empowerment, in that state of feeling in tune, and maybe something comes down to me. I have an idea, something lights up, and I can start doing something that will help others. So I think the empowering state, it's the real freedom. Feel that, stay there, and then from that state you can actually do something that is useful for yourself and for others.
Oh, what amazing thought-provoking conversation, honestly. I mean, I knew freedom was like a massive subject, but when you really start digging into it, it's the most intricate web of just everything, isn't it? It's a web. I wrote a poem once, and I called it a web of time-eaten holes. I wrote that line, and freedom is a web of time-eaten holes that just persists to this day. So did you want to do maybe a little technique, Susie, just to
I don't have a particular technique in mind, but I was thinking maybe we can just try to define freedom, each of us, and work with the feeling of being imprisoned.
Yes.
You know, listening to you earlier, is this a quote from Alan Watts? I don't know if any of you know of him. He's a great philosopher. I love him so much. He has this wonderful voice and this laughter that is just charming. And he was saying once, if you feel free to be trapped and untrapped, then you are untrapped.
Nice.
So he's a Zen master. He's a philosopher. So of course he brings us a bit from the solidity of what we discussed earlier into another plane. But sometimes it's good to go there and get some inspiration, take a deep breath, and then just come back with that perspective. Because, you know, if you are to look at a spiritual path, and the liberation, coming back to freedom, moksha or mukti, whatever, it is an individual process. We like to think that the whole world can illuminate and free and change like this. But to my understanding so far, the world is a place for everybody to get what they need and to pass through whatever you need to experience so that you get that freedom. And just like Nelson Mandela spent all these years in prison, and I was telling you the other day about this wonderful Orthodox monk that spent 40 years in communist prisons. And all these people come out with much more wisdom. So imprisonment, in a way, I mean, even if that's the contradiction, that's the duality that I love. If you can contain these two ideas at the same time, then something happens. Because you need to be here and you need to be in prison, and we are in a physical body, and I am in a physical reality. But at the same time, I'm not. At the same time, I am also that, you know, universal energy. I am that consciousness. So that's the duality of our existence on earth.
Oh, yeah.
We are trapped in matter. But if you can allow yourself to feel trapped in matter and know that you are not trapped in matter, then you're free to choose whatever you want to be. Because being trapped in matter is life as well. No, I mean, being a person now and having a body, even if it has pains, even if it suffers, even if it goes through all kinds of things, even if it experiences this confinement thing,
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It's life. You know, so I think if it's best, rather than generalizing, to just always bring to what is true and real now, and from this place you can be.
I agree, and it's like monks, like what you were saying, Susie. Buddhist monks, they live with no possessions, and
No.
they literally have basic lives, but they are so free. They're so free, and they're so at peace. And freedom is peace, I think. If you've got that inner peace, and then that's the most you can ask for really in life is peace.
Yeah,
and love.
And if you are to reframe that, rather than saying, well, this is a very difficult situation that can crush me, reframing is, you know, actually maybe this situation makes us all stronger, makes us all grow, makes us all realize, come out of the illusion of what we think we are as humanity, and then just move into what we really are as humanity, either at a larger scale or at least at the individual scale. You know, the harder the situation is, and I'm talking from my own experience of communist imprisonment, we got stronger. You know, you grow. There is something that grows, and there is something that develops, and you touch something which is deeper. And actually, this Orthodox monk, in one of the interviews, I actually listen to him once in a while because he's so inspiring. And he said something in the worst days, because he said that they were imprisoning him. There was this torturing method to lock them up in a cold room for 3 days with the purpose for them to die. That was the purpose. So he said, they imprisoned me for 3 days and I didn't die. And then they imprisoned me for 5 days and I still didn't die. And then 7 days. And then they took me out. They said, okay, this one doesn't want to die. Let's take him out. And he said it was awful. But what I could perceive then was this very thin ray of something, not seen physically, but that I could perceive something like a line, something that is so subtle, something that is so powerful that you discover inside yourself throughout this type of situations. So it's not that we want, and he said that, it's not that you want to create suffering in your life, but when it comes, dive into it and find that light there in that suffering. So not everybody will do it. Not everybody will do it. I think that's wisdom, to understand that not everybody can. Yes. And to understand that every person, even if they go through awful situations now, they somehow learning from that.
Well, it's the quote that I said today in my motivational minute about the storm, and then when the storm, hold on, let me just tell you what it is again. And once the storm is over, you won't remember how you made it through, but you managed to survive. You won't even be sure, in fact, whether the storm is really over. But one thing's certain, that when you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person that walked in. And that's what the storm's all about.
That's what life is all about. Wow, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Isn't it wonderful? Yeah, that's from Moksha on the Shore. That's what I was talking about earlier. So on that note, oh girls,
Beautiful.
I'll tell you what, that's mind blown me, that conversation. That really
Lots of
has.
room for thought, or kind of stuff to carry on. But Suzanne, I particularly like picking up on what you said there about how find your own resource state and don't get swamped down by it. And also choose the way in which you can go forward, let it come to you. So, because it is so easy to just get so overwhelmed by certain things. But if you can learn to just tap into that resource state within you, and the more we use it, like any other muscle, the better it gets. You know, with lockdown, I've been able to do exercise like Pilates every day because my lady's doing it online. And I feel so much stronger. You can see my nice fit muscles.
Sexy lady.
But it's the same with that discipline of finding the now state, finding the, and my challenge of it this past sort of few days has been incredible, because I really have tried to put my, walk my talk, as opposed to kind of sit there and think, oh my God, what am I going to do? But it's at practicing that resourcefulness.
Yeah. And trusting that everything will happen with the greatest good.
It always works out somehow. Yeah, who knows?
It will. And like in a year's time, we're going to look back at it and go, you won't even remember it. You'll just remember the good that comes out of it. That's it. That's all it is, because it's change. And changes life, changes growth, changes everything. So on that note,
yeah,
changes choice. I love you all. I love you all, girls. So I'm going to end by saying freedom to change your life direction completely and relaunch yourself now, so you can live the life you've always wanted to, choose the life that you want, and go get it. That's what I say. You've got the freedom to take action and start right now, because what is stopping you? And if there's something stopping you, work on that. Come and see some of us and move forward. So guys, I'm going to sign off from YouTube, Facebook. It's been a pleasure being with you all, and I hope you've got value from what we've been talking about today. And yeah, please like, comment, subscribe, share all of our pages. I'm going to list them all below, and come and visit us if you need to talk about anything more in detail, or have talk about your own lives in any way, and you want to move forward in certain directions. Any one of us will be happy to help you in any way we can. And yeah, we'll see you next time. So love, bye from us.
Bye.
Let me just take this off the line.